My name is Neiasha Russell, and I am at the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, Georgia campus, PCOM. And today I am here to learn more about anatomical donation and the role it plays on medical education and research.
Welcome to PCOM Georgia, Neiasha. You'll notice that there are numerous study rooms on the left and right as we kind of go down this corridor. The students come in here to study early. Sometimes they're here in the evening studying, getting ready for upcoming exams, as well as meeting their colleagues and going over material of the day. So if you'll follow me, we're going to head to our pharmacy division and we'll go to a conference room. First of all, Neiasha, thank you so much for being here today to interview Hannah and I about our PCOM Georgia Anatomical Donor Services. The way we like to relate anatomical is really a gift. And that is where somebody in a particular area, state, region wants to give back to medical education and research by pre-registering with their medical school to bequeath their body to that medical school upon their death. And certainly the gift is that that individual then, as a donor, gets the opportunity to teach first-year physicians in training, also physician assistants, doctoral physical therapists, and on it goes. That individual, quite honestly, teaches those individuals the intricacies and the beauty of anatomy. And that's how you train those first-year medical students, physician assistants, and also physical therapists.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what role does anatomical donation play in medical and education research?
Well, I would say it's pivotal, and it's the most important characteristic of a medical education. The reason why I say that is, as we all know, a lot of schools offer different types of resources, such as atlases. Certainly today, in our times, we have access to all kinds of electronic pads, such as Mondo pads, with different types of anatomical programs. But all that is good and well. It is what I call supplemental education for our students. The main teacher is still the human body, and that's where the importance of our donors who want to donate their bodies to medical science come in. I've always told even our physicians that train our doctors to be that it's so important to have the true teacher. And without the true teacher, you cannot define what I call excellent medical education.
What misconceptions have you found that people have about body donation, the biggest misconceptions?
Well, first of all, some of the misconceptions, and I would say probably one of the ones that we run into a lot, is when people call us and they're interested in donating their body to our medical school, they go, well, I guess I can't have a funeral first. And that's probably the biggest misconception in medical education for those who run a donor program. We actually work with families who, and certainly work with many families of different faiths and different cultures, and they go, you know, Mom always wanted to donate to your medical college for medical education and research. However, she's strong in her church, and she would like to be remembered and certainly go the traditional route first of a funeral home, having a viewing, and certainly having that process. And I guess she cannot be donated. Yes, she can. We educate a lot of people about that big misconception. And certainly those families, when the time comes, they choose their funeral home, and certainly they have their service, and certainly they can still register with us. And if we can accept them, then they come to our program after they've had the funeralization process. We get phone calls from folks all around Georgia going, I want to sign up for your donor program. How do I do that? I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure about that. So people seek us out. They go on the internet and they Google anatomical donations, or possibly donating your body to medical science. And so our website will be in the top 3 on that search, and they find it and they'll go online and they'll find our phone number. And some folks are more comfortable calling us because they want to speak to us. And certainly sometimes that works better for folks who are a little bit older. Also, we have people that go to our website, they've searched it for donorship, and there's an inquiry system built in on our website where they can go ahead and type in all their information, and they will ask questions, and then we will go ahead, whether it's that evening, that next day, get back to them as soon as possible and say, yes, we can do that, you can do this, and answer some of their questions through that inquiry system. The third thing is we have folks who refer us in the field, certainly. Our donor services is actually 13 years of age this May. The middle of May. We've been doing this for 13 years. And so we've built a following, and we actually have families who we've served in the past refer us to other people in their circle who are going through maybe a potential death situation, and they're interested in wanting to donate their loved one, or their loved one is wanting to do this as well. Yes.
So after they make that initial contact with you, whether it's a phone call or through email, what happens next?
What we do then is we make sure that they get the donor documents, and we will let them know you can either download them, or some folks prefer to receive a paper copy. And we do that because we have citizenry all throughout the state of Georgia of different ages, and some of our folks are maybe a little older and they just don't understand the electronics. We're going to make sure that we send it to them through the United States Postal Service, and so they'll get it that way. Once anybody gets their donor paperwork, receives it, and completes it, they send it back to us, and once we receive it, we then call each individual to let them know we've received your paperwork, everything looks good, or if they've left something out, we'll say, unfortunately, we're going to have to return this to you. I've checked, or Hannah's checked, an area on there that you need to complete, and then send it back to us, and we will get your letter after that says you're pre-registered, and also include official donor ID card, and as well as some of our business cards.
Is there anything that determines whether someone is eligible for anatomical donation?
That's another great question, and a lot of times people don't even think of that. Yes, there's multiple reasons why sometimes when people sign up, unfortunately, sometimes we cannot accept them when the time comes. One thing that we have to look at is certainly a donor cannot have a contagious disease. I know all of your viewers, as well as all of us, remember 2020 and remember COVID. That was a difficult time for a lot of families and for the nation and for the world. Unfortunately, donorship was a very fickle thing at that time. And we did have some unfortunate donors that succumbed to that disease. And we were getting calls. And unfortunately, we had to decline. So it is the same anytime at a donor service. The individual who wants to donate their body cannot be contagious. There's some other factors in our donor paperwork that go through things. And one of them also, sometimes it's maybe a weight issue. Sometimes people lose a little bit of weight or more weight than they need to when they get closer to that time. And then conversely, sometimes folks maybe accumulate a little bit more. So we try to make it a balancing act, and we try to, at all practicality, try to accept when those situations arise. But again, in our paperwork, we always communicate something to the effect, please have an alternative means of disposition arranged just in case we cannot accept you.
And what are some important things families should know if their loved one is considering body donation, just in general?
Well, we think it's a wonderful thing. And the way we always talk to families about this is an opportunity for your loved one to leave a legacy of education and research to the next generation of physicians and all healthcare providers. It's such an incredible gift, and we do not take it lightly. That's one of the most important things that an individual can do. I find myself these days just inspired by the families that we serve, especially when we conduct our annual donor memorial service and present our donors' cremains back to their families. And we get to know the families not only from the beginning of the process, but right to the finality when we celebrate the lives of their loved ones at our annual donor service every year in April. And families go, Dad, Mom always wanted to do this. And it means a lot to people. So the generosity in the human condition is still out there, and I want people to know it. There are really nice people that believe, I've lived a great life, I've enjoyed my life, I want to give back to contribute to not only a physician in training who wants to go into medicine to kind of heal society. I want this to mean something. And they always tell us, Jeff, Hannah, I want to make sure I am training a doctor. Then we have nurses that go, I want to train physician assistants. And if they have a preference, we'll make sure that they get to train that physician class or that DO class, Doctor of Osteopathic Medical Group.
Okay. And one thing I want to go back to, and maybe you can speak to this briefly, from the time a family reaches out to you to time of final disposition, how long does that take typically?
That's a fantastic question, and we do put that in our donor documents as well. The time frame from when we receive somebody is 1 to 2 years. And there's a reason why. And this is a standard time period at all medical schools throughout the country. This is the time frame that is given and certainly communicated by the Uniform Anatomical Gift Act in the United States. And so the Uniform Anatomical Gift Act gives guidelines to every donor program in the United States of ethically treating that donor, from how long you really can keep them until you finish up your training and your education and research, to when the cremation is performed, and certainly finally when the donor cremains are presented back to their families at a donor service. We do all we can from when a donor comes to us to when we finish up the donor memorial service and present their cremains back to their family members. We do our best to make it within 1 year. But the reason why sometimes it takes a little bit longer is we have donors come to us frequently every month. And we already have certain cohorts or certain training educational events that are going on. So the donor that has just come to us will have to certainly teach in the next program, if that makes sense. So that's why the Uniform Anatomical Gift Act gives you up to 2 years, just so that the donors that are already in the process of training, and certainly the ones that are coming to you, will have their chance to train within that time period.
Medical students all start with anatomy. It's really the foundation of everything that comes after that. And the ultimate way to learn anatomy in its greatest form is with the true teacher, which is our donor. Our students have supplemental items such as textbooks and models and things of that nature. Technology plays a big role in that, but you can't replace the hands-on experience of the true teacher, their first patient, which is the donor, that they work with throughout their first year of medical school. I think it has the most profound impact on their training. The three-dimensional relationship between one structure and another, or different structures that are in the same area, is you just can't understand that until you can put your hands on it. I often describe it as trying to explain to somebody how 2 + 2 = 4 without using any visuals. You just can't really get it. You're going to throw fingers up and make 4. It just really gives them that hands-on approach to it. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. It's also a humbling experience for them. A lot of them, this is the first actual patient that they've cared for in some way, shape, or form. And so we use the phrase first patient often. And this really is their first patient that they care for through the beginning of their training.
In what ways do you help students understand the humanity and generosity behind each donor?
I would say that starts day one. We make sure that it's very clear to our students that these are real people that had real lives, and that they specifically made the choice to be here and to give of themselves. It's not something that can be done to somebody. They have to decide that for themselves. I think that helps our students. The process, it can be difficult for our students as well because of the human nature of it. And so understanding that the person themselves wanted to be there, and specifically to donate to PCOM Georgia, all of our donations are direct donations to the school. And so I think that helps students. We also emphasize care and respect of their first patient from the very beginning. And so they are instructed on how to care for them properly, and given some helpful guides and tools. We have a wellness committee that comes on our first day of anatomy lab and helps them with their mental health surrounding this. It's a complicated process for everybody, and so we just try to make sure we're there to support our students. Our students are there to support each other, and to really use the opportunity that they've been given to the fullest, and to really learn as much as possible from these patients, and to just take that information and to go from there.
Thank you for that. And this is really good. And Jeff talked earlier about the memorial service. He kind of touched on it a bit, and I wanted you to circle back around to that. What does the memorial service mean to your team, the students, and the donors' families? Like, what is it really all about?
I think of it as a full circle moment. It really connects two groups that have been very separate. So prior to donation and through the acceptance process, we're dealing directly with the families. After someone has come into our care, then we're dealing with the students. And so this really connects both of those groups with each other. So we invite our students as well as the families of our donors out to our campus. And it really just gives both of them an understanding of the other people involved in this whole interaction. And so our students, it's very humbling for them. It's an opportunity for them to express their gratitude to the families, and to really explain the depth of what it meant for them to have a real person to learn from. Our families get an opportunity to see a visual impact. Their loved one impacted these individual people that are standing in the room today. And that's important to them. I really just like to think of it as completing that circle, connecting them, and an opportunity for us to all just take a moment of reflection. As we talked about earlier, that's usually 1 to 2 years after. And that's a really nice time to talk about that person again and to think of all of the impact that they have, and our current students, as well as the impact they will have on medicine as a whole. Every patient that our physicians see from this point on as they become physicians will be impacted by that donor. And so we take time to reflect on that at our service as well.
Hannah, because this work can feel sensitive for many people, how do you ensure donors are treated with dignity and respect throughout the process?
Dignity and respect are mandatory with anyone that comes in contact with our donors, whether that be our faculty, our staff, our students. Everyone who works alongside our donors are trained in the importance of privacy and respecting our donors. It's a huge part of our training process. We begin our labs with starting with the importance of the privacy of our donors. You know, there's things that our students probably know about our donors that they may not know themselves, or maybe their families didn't know the depth of. And so we encourage them to keep that information very sensitive and private while also learning from it. Everyone that interacts with our donors is going to make sure that that privacy is at the utmost, as well as dignity and respect. Our donors are never treated as if they are just the same as like a model or a textbook. They are individuals, they are human beings, and they're treated as such throughout the entirety of the process.
And what would you want the public to better understand about the ethical standards and care involved in anatomical donation?
I think the fact that there are ethical standards. As licensed funeral directors and embalmers, we're governed by the Funeral Service Board. For our license, there's a fiduciary relationship that we have with the families that we work with. And there are standards with the Uniform Anatomical Gift Act as well, as just our own personal ethical standards. And we didn't get into this for any other reason than to help facilitate the connection between donor families and our medical students. And so I think that's an important role that we play in connecting to very different groups of people. It's also something that I think people don't realize is as common as it is. It's not something that everybody has experienced in their life, whether it be with a loved one or someone they know, but it is something that happens across the country every day. It is an option for people if that's what they want to do to give back into the community. And when I tell people what I do, a lot of times they ask about it, and I explain that really every physician you've ever seen in your life has been through a similar process and has learned from a similar donor. And when you think about it like that, it does seem a lot more common than when you just think about it. It's not something that is rare or creepy or anything like that. It is really a good option.
Okay. I will also say that we do employ best management practices that have been accepted as a official standard of care by various anatomy boards and other associations of anatomy, not only in the United States, but also around the world. Because, I mean, donorship does take place in other countries. There's medical schools that are in St. Martin, there's medical schools in Europe, and so on and on. So best management practices, a big part of it does involve ethical standards of care that are established when accepting a donor for medical education and research, and we do adhere to all those and probably go beyond it, quite honestly.
After learning more about anatomical donation and the donation process, Jeff and Hannah gave me a tour of the campus and some of the spaces where students learn and train.
Yeah. Utilizing mannequins that serve in different capacities. Osteopathic physicians have a history of training in treating the whole body. That includes mind, body, and spirit. So you'll notice on our new mural, the artist who put this in a couple months ago, he references mind, body, and then spirit at the other end.
One of the stops on the tour was the Simulation Center. Here, medical and graduate students have the opportunity to practice clinical skills, techniques, and patient interactions in a supportive learning environment before working with real patients. The center features both standardized patients and advanced training technology, including birthing and neonatal simulators that allow students to experience different stages of care before, during, and after delivery. After exploring the Simulation Center, we continued our tour of the campus before finding a quieter space to wrap up our conversation. I wanted to learn a little more about Jeff and Hannah personally, what drew them to this work, and what it has taught them about death, legacy, and the impact people can have long after they're gone. All right, Hannah and Jeff, we've talked about the program overall. You've given me an overview. We've talked about the donation process, and we've talked about the impact it has on students and medical education and all those things. But I want to know a little bit more about the two of you. If you're comfortable sharing, what drew each of you into this work personally?
I can go first. So, I actually started in the death care space immediately out of high school. And so I took a forensic science class in high school, and that kind of started my passion into some different options. And I started working at a funeral home. I went to mortuary school in the Atlanta area. And then most recently, I managed a funeral home on the south side of Atlanta prior to coming to PCOM Georgia about 4 years ago. And I just have always loved helping people and being able to do something that not everybody can do. I have a passion for embalming in specialized situations such as anatomical embalming, as well as just helping people to get the answers to the questions that they may have. And so that is what brought me to PCOM Georgia, as well as just a deep love of anatomy and the relationship of anatomy to the healthcare space as a whole.
Well, thank you, Jeff. What about you?
Well, my journey goes back to when I was 15, and I was working at a little funeral home in my hometown, washing cars, moving flowers, things like that. Once I got my driver's license, then I was moving vehicles, and that kind of got a passion in me about funeral service. And so after working in the funeral home, I decided to go to mortuary college, graduated, and went to Florida and got licensed and practiced down there for 1 year, and then came back to Georgia, and back then you could reciprocate your license into Georgia. During that time, after that, I then joined a mortuary college in Georgia and taught embalming, as well as a number of courses, business classes, for about 21 years. During that 21 years, I also worked for the federal government part-time in disaster management. I'm a former member of Disaster Mortuary Operational Response Team Region 4. And as the years went by, I was still being pulled into, I wanted to get into anatomical work for a medical college. And so in 2013, PCOM Georgia had an ad out, and I applied and got the job. And so in the 13 years that I've been here, I've been privileged to help build our donor program, and certainly Hannah has built it as well. She's been with me now almost 5 years, and she does a great job with the donor program. But it's something that we enjoy. We like working with families, and families enjoy the interactions with us. And I can tell you they value what we do, and we value our families.
What has this work taught you about death, about legacy, or the impact that people can have even after they die?
Yeah, I can go with that one. I think life is short, and the idea of living life to the fullest while you have the opportunity, say the things that come to your mind when they come to your mind. You just never know when you're gonna not have that chance to say something to someone. Forgive often, and that kind of thing. I've helped a lot of families through some very difficult situations, and I just think that's important. And I think the legacy, people are going to be remembered for something, and just considering that ahead of time and thinking about what you will be remembered for, and how your impact on the world while you're here, whatever time that is, and thinking about what that impact will be. Because once you're not here to influence it anymore. It'll just be the legacy you've left behind. I think that's important.
Yeah, I echo exactly what she's saying. And don't put off today what you could do, or don't put off tomorrow what you could do today. You want to take advantage of it. And in my 30 plus years, I've seen a lot of situations. And I've been privileged to work with a lot of families in the past. I enjoy the service portion of funeral service. And to me, what we do, this is kind of an extension of funeral service. And we kind of minister to those families who call us, and we're with them every step of the way through our donation process. They even call us sometimes just to check on their loved ones, and I'll go, hey, how are you doing? And I'll go, yeah, I was just thinking about my father. Today is his birthday. And we'll give an update on where we're at in the process. And so we keep in touch with the families, and they certainly call us and keep in touch. And we let them know we will be concluding the teaching and the research in about 3 months, and we look forward to inviting you and your family to attend the donor memorial service. But yeah, it's, I think people do this because they generally want to give back. Their heart's in the right place, and they do want to leave a legacy of excellence. And that excellence that they leave is the education that they pass on to all of our physicians, as well as our physician assistants and others as well. And that's what I enjoy about the job.
Jeff, why do you think conversations around anatomical donation are important for the public to have?
Well, I think it's number one, people need to discuss their end-of-life plans, and certainly anatomical donation fits into that area. Too often, we work with families that find out about our service too late, and people basically say, I didn't even know you guys were there. We didn't know anything about anatomical donation. And unfortunately, they went a different route. And they go, Dad always wanted to donate his body to a medical college, but we never knew the process. So I think the conversation is, and we tried to take that conversation out into the community in educational formatting with different groups to let them know that you can get pre-registered, and tell them about the options and how it works, and go through the whole process with them and answer their questions. And what I find is when we do these educational events and start the process with them and educate them and answer their questions over an hour or 2 hours, whatever the time period is, they feel a little more comfortable and go, wow, you've really answered this. I just didn't know that you could do this. And it does take constant education in the community to get the word out about this. And that's why we're excited to have you here today, so that we can kind of get this message out to the citizens in Georgia as well as the rest of the country. Anatomical donation is a valid and it's a very good way to leave a legacy. And I would urge anybody in any state, if this kind of piques your interest and you want to know more about it, contact your local medical school in that state and go to their websites and talk to them, and they can answer those questions. A lot of times we get calls, we go out in the community, and we try to get that message out, how the program works and why it's important, and answer those questions.
Jeff, thank you so much for all the time that you spent with me today. I have one last question for you. For someone who may be curious about body donation, what would you encourage them to do next if they want to learn more?
Sure, and thank you for that question, Neiasha, and thank you for being with us today and taking the time to listen to our journey and our story and tell it to others. I would tell anybody who is interested in looking into body donation, if they are interested in applying or pre-registering with our program, to go to our link, which is pcom.edu/body donor. Or they can call us at 770-833-0701. We are in Suwanee, Georgia, and also Moultrie, Georgia. We work out of our Suwanee location, but for anybody looking into pre-registering, it could be anywhere in the state of Georgia. We do cover the whole state, and if we can accept a donor into our program, we cover the cost of transportation to bring them to us, as well as cover the cost of cremation once we conclude our studies and research with our wonderful donors. We finally then present our donors' cremains back to their families at a donor memorial service with a sit-down breakfast on the morning of the service. And it's a wonderful event. The families love it, and it kind of gives that form of closure to families. So, but again, if you want to contact us, you can download our paperwork at pcom.edu/body donor. Thank you for your interest in body donation.
I'm grateful to Jeff, Hannah, and the team at PCOM Georgia for taking the time to speak with me and for allowing me to learn more about anatomical donation and its role in medical education. Body donation is something I've personally included in my own final wishes, so this conversation was especially meaningful for me. More than anything, I was reminded that legacy can take many forms. For some, it continues through the people they love. For others, it continues through the knowledge they leave behind and the lives they help shape. While anatomical donation may not be the right choice for everyone, I hope this conversation encourages you to explore your options, reflect on your wishes, and have conversations about what matters most to you. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.